Meifang and the First Emperor, a dialogue beyond immortality. In the quiet, cool air of the modern museum, Meifang stood before a glass case. Inside lay a bronze seal, ancient and dark. As she reached out to touch the glass, a sudden warmth radiated from the metal. The shadows behind her stretched and deepened, twisting like ink in water, until a tall figure stepped into the light. He wore a heavy robe of black silk, embroidered with shimmering gold dragons. This was Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor, brought to the present by the echo of his own seal. The emperor's eyes were deep and stern, reflecting a long-forgotten exhaustion. "I was a child when the world first took my peace," he murmured, his voice sounding like stone grinding on stone. He shared memories of his youth as a royal hostage in a foreign land, a time of fear and loneliness, where trust was a luxury he could not afford. The hardships of his childhood had forged a heart of iron, convincing him that only absolute control could prevent the world from falling into chaos again. "Every kingdom was a blade at my throat," the emperor explained, gesturing to the empty museum air as if it were a map of old China. He spoke of the heavy burden of the throne, where every choice was a matter of life or death for millions. To him, the constant warring of the six kingdoms was a disease, and unification was the only cure, even if that cure was bitter. He chose the path of the conqueror not for glory alone, but to ensure that no child would ever be a hostage of war again. With a sweep of his hand, the emperor showed Meifang the map of his era. One by one, the boundaries of the six kingdoms dissolved under his command. It was a time of fire and iron, a relentless march toward a single, unified horizon. Meifang watched as the fragmented pieces of a continent were pulled together into a single empire, a feat that changed the course of history forever. Meifang reached into her bag and pulled out a morning newspaper. "Look, Your Majesty," she said softly. "You burned books to control thought, but you also gave us this." She pointed to the characters on the page. She explained that because he unified the script, Shu Tongwen, people from across the vast land could still read the same words and share the same ideas today. His quest for control had inadvertently created a bridge of communication that outlasted his empire. "And it wasn't just words," Meifang continued. She led him to a large window overlooking a glowing highway. She explained his system of Cheitong-gui, standardizing the width of axles so carriages could travel any road. Today, that foundation lived on in modern highways and global logistics. The standards he set for weights and measures allowed trade to flourish across thousands of miles, turning a collection of villages into a unified engine of commerce. The emperor looked thoughtful. He spoke of how he had dismantled the old system of noble bloodlines, replacing it with a prefecture and county system, where men were chosen for their ability, not their birth. He wanted a machine of state that ran on logic and law. Meifang realized that the very idea of a central government, organized and administrative, was a seed he had planted over 2,000 years ago. They spoke of the Great Wall, a dragon of stone stretching across the mountains. The emperor spoke of the cost, the lives spent and the tears shed to build a shield against the north. He also spoke of the imperial roads that connected his cities. Meifang noted that while the wall was built to keep people out, the roads were built to bring them together. The emperor nodded, acknowledging the dual nature of his legacy, the wall of defense and the road of connection. "History remembers your greatness," Meifang said, her voice honest and steady. "But it also remembers the pain. People suffered under your laws." The emperor turned to her, his stern gaze meeting her young eyes. For a moment, the silence of the museum was heavy with the weight of centuries. He did not deny her words. He had been a man of iron in an age of iron, but seeing Meifang's world made him realize the value of the lives he had viewed only as numbers. Suddenly, the museum floor seemed to dissolve into a sea of clouds. Meifang took the emperor's hand, and they rose into the night sky. Below them, China was a vast, shimmering sea of lights. Modern cities twinkled like fallen stars. connected by threads of gold and silver. "This is the prosperity you dreamed of," Meifeng whispered. The emperor looked down in silence, overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the light he had helped ignite. "You searched for an elixir of life," Meifeng said as they drifted back toward the museum. "But immortality isn't living forever in one body. You are immortal because your script is written every day. Your laws are the bones of our streets, and your vision of a unified people remains our strength." The emperor looked at his hands, realizing that his work had outlived his flesh in a way he never expected. "If I could walk the earth again," the emperor mused, his form beginning to blur into swirling ink, "I would lead with more than just law. I would lead with the flexibility of water and the mercy of the sun." He looked at Meifeng one last time, a faint smile touching his lips. He began to fade, his majestic robes dissolving into dark, fragrant ink that flowed back into the bronze seal. Meifeng stood alone, the seal's warm glow still pulsing in her palm, a reminder of the dialogue that bridged 2,000 years.